This week's episode of the Curious Podcats is brought to you by you, our valued listeners. If there are any topics you would like to hear us talk about, you can submit your suggestions at curious.podcasts@gmail.com. Also, if you want to show us some love and support, why not pop over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecuriouspodcats. Welcome back to another episode of the Curious Podcats with Dr. Trucifer and Lawless.
Yo.
And Madam Gem's familiar.
This week's episode is brought to you in a field with a crow, apparently.
I think it might be a crow. Might be a
Sounds
raven.
like a crow.
Saying that you don't really get ravens around.
Yeah, but that predator's back.
So, this week we have a special guest, as usual.
Oh, hi. John Cena.
Yes, John Cena.
Just waiting for a phone call. I'm glad you reminded us.
You're welcome. There's going to be a revisiting of last week's Mandela Effect. After speaking to my backup, we have been able to get to the bottom of the Fruit of the Loom Mandela Effect. At least we think we have. I'm confident that we got to the bottom of it. And you're supposed to be talking about some conspiracy dealing with Bohemian Rhapsody as well.
Yeah, it's more of a theory, like because no one really knows what it's about. But I've heard a theory from someone, which I will mention later. It's quite good though, and it makes sense. So
I'm quite excited to hear about this because I've never heard anything about this before. Before we get started, I would like to give a shout out to John, one of our newest listeners, who's been quite eager to find out when episode 6 was coming out.
hello, John.
So here you go, John. Episode 6, especially for you. I mean, it was going to happen anyway, but
just because you put all that effort in, it's now for you.
Indeed. So, where should we start this week?
We'll go with the Fruit of the Loom Mandela Effect.
Okay, that's a good place to start. Now then, obviously, as we know, the Fruit of the Loom logo does not have a cornucopia on it, but there are many people who remember there being a cornucopia. Now, there are sort of like gimmicky logo, like parodies of the logo. One of which was by a musician who plays a flute, or a flutist. I've probably butchered that pronunciation.
Flutist.
But his logo was the fruit from Fruit of the Loom with a flute shaped like a cornucopia coming in from the background, and it was called Flute of the Loom.
Nice.
There's been other versions as well where they've added something in to have a cornucopia in the background, like just parodies of the original logo. Oh, what was it? And what was the other one I was just thinking of there? Oh yes, there was actually a news article which caused some confusion as well. I will come back to that. The other one was, there we go, it was a South Park episode, and also the animated movie, or CGI movie, the Ant Bully.
Oh.
So in the Ant Bully had a fruit of the loin logo, which had a giant cornucopia. In the South Park episode, I Should Have Never Gone Zip Lining, which was episode 6 of season 16. Sorry, trying to talk a bit too fast there. There is a logo of a cornucopia brand seen in that episode. So, given that there's been so many parody versions of the logo done, it's quite understandable why people would think that the logo did have a cornucopia in when it didn't. The company themselves released a statement saying there is not and never has been a cornucopia or fruit basket in the logo. It's always ever been just the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
That is until you get to October 1994. There was some advert done, and one of the models or actors from the advert that was done for the Fruit of the Loom underwear did actually make mention about them being a fruit basket or cornucopia in the advert, but that's the only time there was ever anything. So it was there for that in 1994, but it hadn't been in before that, and it's never been in since then. And even then, it was just like I think they had somebody dressed up as the basket.
Hey.
So like everyone was dressed up as a different piece of fruit from the logo, and then they had someone dressed up as a basket of cornucopia, and that's the only time it was there. It's never been an official part of the logo, just in that advert.
Right.
In October '94.
So, if we're going back on Mandela effects, we may as well get mine out of the way now.
Okay then, hit me.
Right, now, take it with a pinch of salt. It's, I don't really know much about Pokemon and stuff.
Okay.
But apparently, Pikachu's tail had a black patch on it. And then other people say it didn't. So I don't really know much about this because I didn't really watch it as a kid. But if you want to have a look.
I say now, obviously, I haven't watched Pikachu for years. Well, not since the 90s. But I think the last time I watched anything Pokemon related was the first movie. Where there was a whole showdown with Mewtwo. I've not watched it since then. But I do remember Pikachu having a black tip to his tail.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have a look here then.
I probably would say that I kind of remember that, but I'm not that much of a fan to argue about it.
So there are people here who are saying that the only reason why Pikachu has ever had a black tip to his tail is because people remember is because of the Mandela effect. It's only ever been just plain yellow with no black tip.
The only thing I can think of is there was a lot of bootleg Pokemon games back in the day.
Another thing that I think it might be as well is sort of like an assumption that the way that would be the black tip of his tail because he's got black tips on his ears. Yeah. So it might be that they've just automatically thought he had.
He's a bit plain, really, without it, isn't he? Like.
Yeah. I mean, looking at it, his tail is quite plain. It's yellow. I mean, when you see there the original artwork there from the show, it's brown at the base, but then yellow the rest of the way, and there's no.
It looks better with black, whether or not that's the way it's supposed to be. But take it with a pinch of salt, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, I remember that he had a black tip to his tail, but looking at like the pictures here, what have you, he's never had a black tip to his tail, and I think it's probably just down to the tip that because of the tips of his ears being black. We're just automatically just been thinking the tip of his tail was black as well. I think there is, say for cosplayers, I think there is a version of the Pikachu tail which has got black on the end for like either like the Pikachu onesies or the cosplay outfits. So yeah, I don't. Even though I can remember him having a black tail, I don't think he ever did.
Well, I would say he did, but I don't know. Anyways, that's all. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so I don't think I'm going to be needing to call on my backup on that one. I think we've debunked that one. I think it's just been down to a misconception.
Oh, sorry. It's always the most inappropriate times, isn't it? Hello, John. Are you on your way?
Not the John we gave the shout out to.
No, not John Cena. Yeah. There's a big queue in Greg's. Uh-huh. So do you think you'll make it? Oh. Apparently people keep cutting in front of him because they can't see him. Oh, hey.
How can you not see
How can
John
you not
Cena?
see John Cena? I know. Right, well, if you get ya, then fair enough, but if not, we can try again sometime. No, it's fine, I'm getting quite used to this now. Yeah, no bye. Bye. Yeah, he's stuck in Greg's.
You know what you should have done?
What?
You should have put the order in advance, so that when you got to Greg's, the girl at the counter could be like, "I've got 2 steak bakes, yeah."
Did you just assume his Greg's order?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, when you see the size of him, clearly he's on the red meat.
Well, he told me he was after a sausage roll.
I mean, no. Well, I was going to do a joke there about the whole. And his
No,
name
go
was
on,
John
go on.
Cena.
No,
It's ruined.
no.
It's ruined. It's ruined.
Well, I just thought that you should assume someone's Greg's order.
It was for a joke, though. But I've noticed that when Americans have come over here, they've been fascinated by Greg's.
Really?
Yeah. They don't typically have that sort of food over there in America.
Right.
And another thing that I think is brilliant to get Americans with is they don't know, they can't grasp the concept of a cheeky Nando's.
Oh, I'm kind of with them on that, like, to be honest.
The thing is, I do get it because of how we in the UK do typically talk with our particular vernacular. Well, that could be a word of the week later down the line.
No.
But it starts with a V, it'll be weeks away. Anyway. Unless I decide to spell it with an F, then I could do it next week. A vernacular. Or should that actually be a word? Oh, I'm going to have to look into that now. Anyway. You know, we'll do a cheeky this or a cheeky that, you know. So what's a cheeky Nando's?
The certain words people use, like, takeaway en route. Like, really? Like, it's a thing that everyone uses, but no one really knows why.
Like
the whole cheeky Nando thing. It's like, is it really cheeky? Like, what do you take a bite of your food and then giggle behind your menu? You know what I mean? It's like,
or maybe you tap your butt cheeks afterwards. You know.
Maybe it's not.
We're saying the word cheeky that much. I'm now being reminded of that 90s song. We Are the Cheeky Girls.
Oh, God.
It's,
I do know what one about there. I just started slagging off Nando's.
John Cena.
Aye. Oh, he's not coming. Next week's guest is let's think. I don't know. Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone. Do you think you can get him?
I'll ring his agent. I mean, I've managed to get in touch with John Cena.
That's John Cena. Sylvester Stallone. That's a. We're talking Arnold Schwarzenegger level there.
We'll see.
You know, you'd have more luck getting Jimmy Neal.
No, because he could possibly turn up. Like
that
beat the crap out of us. So no,
that's a fair point. Oh, talking about getting into trouble. I nearly forgot. I've spoke with Madam Jem this week, and we're both in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed bottled water anymore.
Right, I want to say it now. I am sorry. It's very rare you'll get a meaningful apology from us, but I am sorry. I wouldn't even listen to it back because I know how annoying it would have been. So if you've returned, thank you, and I'm sorry about that.
And I'm not allowed to vape either, because apparently my vaping's been getting picked up by the microphone. Whenever you're trying to have a cheeky vape off to the side.
If you say cheeky again, you'll be sitting in the garden. Even though it's your house, you'll be sitting in the garden, talking through the window.
But Lawless, we're the cheeky boys.
Shut up. Don't even include us.
Okay, well, I'm going to do something different.
What, you're going to be interesting and funny?
Hopefully, I am going to tell a joke.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Owen. Wait there, I'll be on the edge of my seat, preparing for laughter. Don't stop looking at us.
But what did the girl dog say to the boy dog?
I don't know.
I like it rough. And there goes Lawless. Oh, Andy's back.
Just had a vomit in my mouth.
Yeah, well, okay.
If we're doing dad jokes, I'll come up with one next week, like.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad, that, like.
I think dad jokes are the way to go.
They are, like.
I mean, if you love dad jokes, you've got to watch Bruffy1322 on YouTube, or even Twitch, because when he's doing G-Threads, he's always got a dad joke at the beginning. Sometimes two, depending on what's going on. Now, there is something else I wanted to quickly mention before we get up. I feel like I'm hogging the airwaves here, but I don't care. But before we move on to your next thing, you know the car manufacturer, Hyundai?
Yes.
Did you know that that's not how you pronounce it?
I've heard people say Hyundai.
It's Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Because
I know on Tokyo Drift, he says something about I'm not going to let me boy ride in a Hyundai or something. Or
yeah, it's a Hyundai. So you don't. Even, it's very very quick. It's like it's only like the H and the Y or one letter. Hyundai.
Well, if
but us Westerners like to say Hyundai.
If Hyundai is listening,
we're sorry.
No, I'm still saying it. Hyundai. Sounds better.
It sounds like a martial arts attack.
Does just
Hyundai. There we go. Cancelled for racism.
It's not, well, anyways, right. So my one is about the song "Bohemian Rhapsody" by Queen.
Sorry, what's the song called? You just said Bohemian.
I can't say it. But what's it? Bohemian. Bohemian
Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Right. Dickhead. Right. So my mate had a theory. I don't know if he's listening, but if you are, hello Neil. That.
What, my Neil?
Well, I wouldn't say he's yours. Your cousin.
Yeah.
Aye. Right. So he seems to think, and I do agree with him actually, that it's because no one knows what it's about. Everyone's got little theories and stuff. But his theory was that it's about someone getting the electric chair. And it was a boy from Texas, I think. Was only a young lad. About 10 or something, don't quote us on it. I didn't really look into it, but. And he got the chair. And if you read the lyrics, it's like, I'm just a poor boy from a poor family. And all this and that. He shot someone, apparently.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's what the song is about. It's a young lad. I wouldn't say as young as 10, probably late teens, early 20s. Probably got involved in some gang. He shot and killed somebody, in some gang-related attack or killing. He's apologising to his mum for the shame he's brought to the family. He's got his regrets about it. He's been caught, locked up. Now, I don't know about. I've never thought about what his overall punishment was, other than he got found guilty. Well, I suppose with the whole thunderbolt and lightning element to it, I suppose I can see where Neil's coming from. That yes, that might actually indicate that
Because think about it, right?
that he's getting the electric chair.
Thunderbolts and lightning, very frightening, right? And then you get this thing between let him go, and stuff, and it's like two sides, which could be like heaven and hell.
Not only that, I can get that. It could be like let him go, let him go to heaven. But another way to look at it is depending on who it was that he killed and what his reason was for killing that person. It might be people protesting him being sent down, and they're saying it that him killing that person was actually him doing a public service. Also, like, yes, murder is bad, but who did he murder?
No, that's it.
What is the world actually going to be a better off place because you took that person out for whatever reason? And so I mean, I suppose that's two ways you can look at it. But how did Neil come to the conclusion he was from Texas?
No, that was my bit.
Oh, that was your bit.
I added that because anyone listening who knows of that story, I think it was a young black lad from, I think it was Texas, where the laws are a bit more extreme. I don't know, but and there was a film made on it, and I kind of think what the film's called. If anyone knows it, I'd be grateful. But it shows you what happened and stuff. I seen a clip of it. Obviously, there was no name to the movie and that, like it always is. But if anyone knows it, because I wouldn't mind watching it. It's a bit like Green Mile-ish. Like, I mean, I could probably find it, but
I will have a quick look.
No, I would say
because if I do this, it's probably going to bring up the actual Bohemian Rhapsody movie.
Nah, this was probably made before the song.
Right, so are you saying like the song was based on the film or like on true events?
Well, not so much the film on the event, but there is a film about this kid who I think it's about.
Let's have a look at the song analysis. I mean, they are trying to say that was it? So Bohemian Rhapsody was Freddie's confessional.
Oh.
And it was about how different his life could have been and how much happier he might have been. So it was probably after he got the diagnosis.
I think this was the 70s,
Well, yeah, it was 1975 is when Bohemian Rhapsody came out.
But he didn't get diagnosed till like late 80s. I think he died early 90s. 92 maybe, or 91 he died.
So he was showing symptoms as early as 1982. So yeah, so the song was well before that. Okay, so that's out the window then. Yeah, I think that's something.
It's just a theory. I just bought that shirt because I thought it was a really good one. And to be honest, I've never heard many others.
I definitely think that warrants more research to find out if that theory is right and what that film was.
Because
if there is a film concerning that story, I think I'd be interested in watching it as well, just so that.
I mean, I'm not saying there's any connection. That's my connection that I've put.
I can see.
So if anyone knows the name of the film or the story of like the kid.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one that warrants looking into just to find out. Okay. Well, the next thing I wanted to talk about, I did originally want to go a bit more in depth than what I am going to go with it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep this one a bit on the brief side. I mean, there's plenty of information out there about it already. I want to highlight a few points in particular that have sort of helped me to sort of see it as being false. Now, it is something that we have mentioned previously, which is the Montauk Project.
Oh, yeah.
You had the Montauk chair. You've got the Montauk boys, the ones who were experimented on, which is where I could see the premise for the Bourne identity coming from. What was done to the Montauk boys is shown as being done. I think they didn't show it until the Bourne Legacy, the one with Jeremy Renner, where they're breaking them down with torture, ready for being imprinted with new personality. And what have you. Sorry about that little pause. Thought a cat was about to try and sneak in.
Oh, it is. Oh, we've got to bring him in.
No, because it's a nightmare trying to get him back out. He's not even my cat.
Oh wait, this is a sign. This man.
To be honest, I think he's a kitten.
He looks quite young, like.
Yeah, he's still got a very curious nature about him. I'm seeing him, maybe her.
I was stroking it before, and he's got some. He's got some bean bags on him.
Got the anatomy.
Aye.
But that's getting off topic.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in a previous episode as well, the Montauk Project is also the basis for the Netflix series Stranger Things, which was originally called Montauk.
Mm-hmm.
But then they changed it to Stranger Things. But a lot of the things that take place in the series is based on information within the Montauk Project.
Oh, I can't. Oh. Oh wait, man, this is a sign list. What
Okay.
should we call them? Should we call them pods?
I don't know, as long as he doesn't start spraying on
He
things.
won't.
Okay. Now, as we know, well, I'll say it as we know, the project was supposed to have started in the 1970s.
I'm listening.
And I did mention previously that not only did I mention it being the basis for Stranger Things, but I did mention that it was linked to the Philadelphia experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way it's linked to the Philadelphia experiment is that there was supposed to be two sailors who were brothers, Duncan Cameron and Edward Cameron, I think was the other one. Now, these two brothers were supposed to have jumped over the side of the ship. They went missing.
Right.
They never returned. Oh, sorry, I say they never returned. One of them did, but the other one didn't. Now, what's supposed to have happened is that they leapt forward in time to the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they ended up getting. Essentially, that's how the Montauk Project ended up getting founded.
Right.
Was by their appearance. As I mentioned in the previous episode where we talked about the Philadelphia experiment, the two sailors who went missing, there's actually never been any record of them, not on the Eldridge or any other U.S. Navy.
Especially back then. I mean, people could.
Well, no, there's no. I mean, we're talking about World War II era. They had records of everyone who was serving on any ship. We're talking about the military. So they would have records. There are records, and when you go back and look at the crew roster for the Eldridge, those two names are not there.
Right.
And there's even a third name as well. What was his name? Al Bielik or something. I did have the name written down, but this Al guy, there's no mention of him having been on the Eldritch either. And I did debunk. But, I looked up enough to be able to debunk the Philadelphia experiment. It didn't happen. So if the Philadelphia experiment didn't happen, then these two guys definitely didn't exist, which means they didn't time travel. And given that these two brothers from the Eldridge during the Philadelphia experiment given that they're meant to be there at the founding of the Montauk Project, their appearance is what caused the founding of the Montauk Project, then the Montauk Project couldn't have existed.
Well, if that's true.
If that's true. But all mentions of the whole thing around the Montauk Project, though, is centered around the Philadelphia experiment. Anything you look up dealing with the Montauk Project says that the Philadelphia experiment was the cause of the founding of the Montauk Project, because the brother who stayed in the 70s and 80s, not the one who went back, but the one who stayed, he was the centre of a lot of experiments. The Montauk chair.
Yeah.
It was him that was sitting in the chair.
Right.
So given that he's at the centre of all the experiments.
Well, I've never heard that. I've heard it was more than one person. I heard they used to get psychics in.
I mean, there was lots of other people in. Obviously, like I said before about the Montauk boys.
Yeah.
And they were doing things along the lines of remote viewing, only it seemed like a more advanced version of remote viewing that they were doing. But the point is that no matter how many people were there who were involved in it, at the core of it was one of the Cameron brothers from the USS Eldridge. USS Eldridge, yeah.
Right. Oh God, cat.
Yes,
Hello.
the cat's still here. It's yeah, but I mean,
Now that is a curious cat.
that is a very curious cat. Yeah, we should definitely call the cat Pod.
Yeah.
Pod the curious cat. But
Right. I think I'm gonna quickly do my last one
okay.
because I really want to stroke that cat. The Simpsons weather balloon thing. There's an episode where the weather balloon goes rogue. Willie tries to shoot it down, groundskeeper Willie. And two jets go by and see Willie, and obviously there's a joke of, oh, it's an Iraqi tank or something, like something outrageous.
Okay.
And they both take shots and shoot each other.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying it's a prediction, I'm just saying it's just a bit strange, like a weather balloon and then two jets. Now I can't remember what the episode's called for people to check it out. It's not really a theory or anything, I just thought I'd point that out,
Well, it's interesting that you should bring up some dealing with war, because that ties into something else I was going to mention about the Montauk Project, which is actually something that, rather than discrediting the author, the tale of the Montauk Project, it's actually something that could actually give it some credence. It's something that, or at least the conspiracy theorists will be able to use to say, well, no, the Montauk Project was real.
Yeah.
One of the Cameron brothers, before settling in to like the 70s, 80s era for the Montauk Project, actually time travelled even further into the future.
Right.
To the 22nd century, I think it was 2187 or sometime around there. And hello, Pod. This is where it gets interesting. Now, he talks about how there's floating cities in the sky, sort of like two miles off the ground. It's all being run by AI and what have you. But one of the things he learned about while in the 22nd century that gives me reason to hesitate to completely discredit the Montauk theory.
Mm-hmm.
Is that at some point between 1946,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 1946, where... No, it would have been 43. No, yes, 1943. 1946 was when the Office of... Was it Naval Research? The organisation that was supposed to have done the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
but who weren't actually around until 1946. But the experiment was supposed to have happened in 1943. So between 1943 and the back end of the 22nd century, at some point there was a thermonuclear war between the West and a Russia-China alliance.
Right.
What's happening at the moment?
I know.
Russia and China are very much allies at the moment, mainly centered around the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And there is concern at the moment that it could escalate to that level. So I find it interesting that was said in that was brought up in Peter Nichols' book in what was it, the 80s or 90s when he brought his book out. Yes, the 80s. That's reminded me of another point I want to mention.
Right.
So when Peter Nichols brought his book out in the 80s concerning the Montauk Project, it was mentioned then that one of the Cameron brothers went to the back end of the 22nd century and found out that Russia and China had a nuclear war with the West and reduced the Earth's population down, I think it was like 300 million.
Right.
So that was it's given me reason to think.
The world's run by psychopaths who love war.
Well, he has another thing as well, though. The Al guy who I mentioned, who was. Now here's the thing, Al and the other Cameron brother. See, I get very confused with this bit. Al was apparently inhabiting the body of the other Cameron brother through psychic time travel or something. I couldn't get my head to...
Remote viewing.
No, because it was time travelling.
Yeah, you can still do that. It's the same
Although
thing.
remote viewing is real time, not past or future.
No, you can go back. People's watch historic events and stuff.
The typical remote viewing is happening in real time. The one that you're talking about, I don't think that's typically remote viewing. I think that's something else. I'll look into that. You might be right.
I don't know, I might be wrong. I don't know.
No, you might be right. You might be wrong. I'd like to know for definite though. But by the by, it wasn't that he was remote viewing. It wasn't that he was looking back and witnessing what's going on. He was in control of the body.
That's kind of like the Montauk chair, though, isn't it, in a way?
Well, yeah, because the Tal guy was involved in the Montauk Project. So, and that's what we're dealing with. It is that he's possessed the other Cameron brother back on the Eldridge.
So surely that's a paradox.
Well, paradoxes were a concern. Now, everything that went on, he then ends up forgetting everything. Roll around to 1994, I think it was. Let me just double check what year it was. Pod. Oh, let's control that cat. (1984). So, roll around 1984, when the movie The Philadelphia Experiment comes out. Al is watching the movie, and all of a sudden, all these memories come flooding back, and they're pretty much identical to how it happens in the movie.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. The guy did have other mental conditions that were going on, so he is not a credible source of information. Yeah. So for him, to believe that he was one of the brothers who probably never existed to begin with.
Yeah, it's kind of like a time hop. You seen them?
Time hop.
Where you just be driving a car or something, and then all of a sudden you're in the 50s.
Yeah.
And then you're back, and this time, there's no way of ever saying that it's true or not.
Yeah, I think there was a story about that, which can be covered at a later time, but happened in Russia. So I'll do a bit of digging into that and see if I can cover that in a future episode, or you can.
Right.
But yeah, I think
that's a wrap. But can we just say that?
But is it a Bora?
A Bora?
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, shut up. But shout out to the cat that just won that in. That was strange.
There is one final thing. Word of the week.
Oh, and
okay, now I'm going to break tradition, and I'm going to have 2 words of the week, but for a very good reason.
I'll have 2 as well. Just to be petty.
Just to be petty. I mean, if you want to be petty, you go ahead and be petty.
Oh, I will. I'll be so petty. No, I'm not going to go.
No. Finish that sentence.
No, I'll be so petty that you're going to wish I wasn't so petty.
That's just being petty.
Yes!
And Pod is finally on the desk.
On the computer.
It's a little turd.
Oh, really? You couldn't make this up? A cat has just won that in.
During a recording of the Curious Podcats.
It walked across the microphone, practically. It is scratching itself on the computer. Put some headphones on it. That cat wants to be here.
Come here, Pod. Psst. He hasn't even got a collar. Or has he?
He will have, since he'll be my cat.
Come here, boy.
Oh, man, I wish that cat had a scratch the hell out of you there, like.
Yeah, no collar. Pod does not have a collar.
Oh. He's a bloody
Ow. Got the claws. Oh, God, that's going to leave a mark. Good job I'm wearing a red shirt. Did you go out?
It's just at the door. Looking all
traumatised?
No, what's the word when you're like staring out at sea, looking all
nostalgic?
No, it's got a name. Fuck, it doesn't matter. I know what I mean.
Well, when you know what when you've figured it out, let me know. So my 2 words of the week are entomology and etymology. Now, the reason I went for 2, and being those 2, is because they sound very similar, entomology, etymology, yet their meanings have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Entomology is the study of insects, and etymology is the study of words. So one's dealing with bugs, the other one's dealing with words.
Do you not just think they've got no point and they just thought, fuck, we've got it with letters here?
I'm starting to think that, yeah. Yeah, I'm
so that's what you get when you put like P in pneumonia and stuff to try and sound all smart. That's what you get. Anyways, my word.
Mm-hmm.
Season about 2 because I'm petty. Egg, you can eat it, right?
Okay.
And then I want to go with eggplant because you can eat it.
I mean, that's just being an extra level of petty, because you've taken your first word and used it again, and there's just a plant on the end of it.
I could also probably do it again.
Please don't, because then it'll be like egg sandwich.
Oh no, that's a great one. That.
Yeah, but that's 2 words in itself.
Egg on toast.
That's 3 words.
Doesn't matter.
But speaking about egg on toast, if you really want to confuse an American, beans on toast. They really don't grasp it.
I could say beans are slightly different though, aren't they? I think ours are sweeter, apparently.
Well, no, it's just the idea of beans on toast in general. But yes, you're right.
It's really nice, so you should try it. It's really nice. With a little bit of grated cheese on top.
Cheesy beans on toast.
I mean, there's some American things that just make me think, wow. Maple syrup on eggs.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm not saying it's not nice, but
no.
It's not something you'd think of, innit?
Maple syrup on eggs, it's even better. stack of pancakes
Oh, that looks beautiful.
with
that.
an egg on top and then maple syrup.
Oh, I don't know about the egg.
Well, it works.
Do you know when you see them when they're like stacked up?
Mm-hmm.
Like a stack of really small pancakes with a bit of butter on top.
Yeah.
And then maple syrup.
Yeah.
That shit looks delicious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man, I was thinking of another one there and I forgot what it was. It's gone. Oh, I remember. You want to talk about messed up food things that America does?
Mm.
But we're all familiar with squirty cream, aren't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what they went and invented?
What?
Squirty cheese.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah. I mean, I have sausage roll sandwiches. I'm not one to judge, but I don't know. It probably would be nice.
Is that part of
The cat's climbing me scooter. Oh, it is a strange one, that way.
I think your scooter needs rescuing.
Rescuing.
Rescuing. I think this episode's just been all about how we can't pronounce our words.
It's sitting on the radiator.
It's probably warm.
Come on, meow.
Well, I think we should definitely call it a wrap there. So thank you once again, everyone, for coming back and listening in and tuning in. And
hope you enjoyed it.
And if you really enjoyed it, you can always go and give our Patreon page a visit.
Yeah, we've got a cat now.
Yes, the actual Curious Podcat himself.
That's what we should do. You know, try and get a picture of him. Oh, majestic. That's the word. Looking all majestic and shit.
Majestically gazing out at sea.
Yeah. You know I've done that?
I don't think you quite understand what majestic means.
Sounds good. Don't Google it. I'll literally switch the power off by the mains outside.
Okay, well, once again, thanks everyone for listening in. And catch you all next week.
Bye.
Bye. Podcast.